Do you use your camera's shutter just to control light, or do you use it for creativity as well? By the end of this video, you will see how creative you can get with slow shutter speeds, with fast shutter speeds. And not only that, I am also going to reveal that one image that basically turned our horse photography around and skyrocketed our sales. Hey guys, this is Ijaz. I am a fashion and a wildlife photographer here in New York, and after shooting for such a long time for designers, magazines, art galleries, fine art prints, I have realized that we have a tendency of making photography difficult. Let's break it down. Let's make it super easy. The first tip on that is make it simple in your mind first, and everything else will fall into place. Guys, let's make photography easy. I'm not going to tell you what shutter speeds to use. You already know all of that. All I'm going to do is show you the images that has totally changed the way our audience thinks of our horse photography. What is shutter speed? In the early days of my career, shutter was basically just to control the light, give the camera what it wants, so it can give me a perfectly exposed image. Later on in my career, it changed because I had already explored all the shutter speeds, the f-stops, the functionalities of the camera, and now it had become second nature. So once the camera becomes second nature, what do? You want to grow more as a photographer. So what did I do? I started to play around with different shutter speeds. Let me tell you how it really started for me. I had already reached a place in my career of photography where we were selling images and people were buying images from galleries or from our website. And we had this client who had purchased two large images. Mind you, those images are not cheap, right? So they're really expensive, but she had purchased two. But then she came back to me and she said, Ijaz, I am not going to buy another one, which I have a need to buy. I need another one for my living room, but I'm not going to buy it because your images I need something more than just action. See, I shoot a lot of horse action. A lot of photographers shoot horses which are calm, they're eating, they are grazing, they are walking, and my horse photography is different in a way where I get a lot of moving shots, moving, because in my brain, a horse is beautiful, a horse has muscles, and that is what I need to portray to the audience. Back to this client. So she says to me, I need something different. I already have two of your images. I want something different. Okay, so from there, I am now in France and I'm wearing my waders and I am in waist high water and it's mucky and it's dirty. And I'm in the middle of the shot where I have told my rancher to send the horses in a certain place so I can stand right in front of the horse and take photographs. And what happens is I suddenly hear her voice in my head, my client's voice. And she's saying, I want something different. At that minute, not being planned and prepared for it, I said to myself, what should I do? What should I do? It's going to be a waste of time taking photographs if I can't really sell them. So I have a client who wants something different. All I have to do is create something different, give it to her. I'm in water and I bring my shutter lower and lower. Guess what's happening? My image is blowing out because I want my f-stop to be at the lowest. And since I want my f-stop to be at the lowest, there's too much light. I was in the water with wearing waders. There was no way I was going to get off, walk all the way back, I don't know, maybe 300, 500 feet, get back into the car, look at my bag, take out the ND filter, put it back on my lens, and wear the waders, go back all the way into the water. I was not going to do that. So what did I do? I broke my rule of f-stops. I started to crank up the f-stop. So when I cranked up the f-stop and dropped my shutter speed down, everything started to come proper in terms of exposure. And that is where the magic happened. That is where the f-stop, bing bing bing, went off in my head, and f-stop became successful as far as I'm concerned. What did I do? I said to myself, let's make it slower. So I took one photograph with a slower shutter speed. So as you guys know, I shoot everything with 1250. I start everything with 1250 of a cycle. Great. And the other issue here is that I always shoot with the lowest f-stop. So then I cranked it down a little bit more. I went down, and I kept going down. I took a shot. I took another shot. I took another shot. I took another shot. And I took another shot. And it's not different. It is just the same. And then I reached a place where I said, okay, great. Now I'm getting streaks of the water flying. So let me stop at this shutter speed. This is exactly what I want. And I kept going, and I kept telling the rancher to send the horses back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, until I saw a pattern. And the pattern that I saw was, as soon as the horse would hit the water with its legs, the splashes would go outwards like a V. So I wanted to capture that. I wanted that to come into place where the horse was running, and I had that V-shape angle, and the horse was right in the middle of that. After God knows how many shots and how many days, I should say, because I did that again and again and again and again and again, I finally got it. And the reason why it was so damn challenging, simply because not that I ever make a mistake, right? But the fact was that the shutter speed was so slow that my hands were shaking, the horse is moving, the water is shaking. So it took too many shots, but bottom line, we achieved this one. And guess what? After I was done retouching it, I showed it to my client. It wasn't even a sell. It was not even a sell. She said, oh my God, that's amazing. I want it. I want it. I want it. So that is clear advantage of using shutter speed to be creative, because it's so different. And actually, this image has turned out to being one of the most liked images in the past few years, because people are drawn to it. They say, is it a painting or is it a photograph? And that's not just photography. Of course, that's a lot of retouching and how we do it and how we process it, which I will make a video on my way. Not that it's special, but my way of doing the retouching. So then I learned how shutter speeds could be creative. And there are different ranges of shutter speeds that can give you different looks. If you want a streak like this one, or if you want something that's blurry in the background like this one, blurry in the background but the horse is also a little bit in focus like this one, you can change your shutter speeds. I'm going to say that the creative shutter speeds come from the discomfort of knowing that you are going to come up with a blurry image. That is actually the success of shooting with a slower shutter speed. Shoot with a slower shutter speed, knowing that you will get 1 out of 2,000, because if you want your image to be focused on one side, if you're directing your audience to see something, that something needs to be focused. And for me, that something is always an eye. So to get the eye sharp, but to be able to get everything else blurry, becomes a little bit challenging. That was my introduction to shutter speeds. When I say my introduction, I mean I was introduced to a shutter speed which was an instant hit with my clients. And it just, from there, I just said, okay, great, slow shutter speeds. But what is slow in shutter speeds, right? Is it 125th of a second? Is it 60th of a second? Is it 30th of a second? So at this point, I had never ever gone below 30th of a second. And I was happy with the results. Life was good. People were buying. And then I hit the same exact thing once again, and at this point, it wasn't a client that pushed me. It was just my creativity. I had hit a creative block. I just didn't know what I should do to take it to another level, what I should do to give my audience something different to see. I had no clue, and I had booked a tour in France, of course. I go to France quite a bit to photograph my horses. And after booking the tour, I sat down and I said to myself, wait a minute, what am I doing here? I'm going to go back. I'm going to take the same exact image. I'm going to come back and I'm going to say, hey guys, look, I have this image. Want to buy it? And that wouldn't be successful. So, a trip to France, booking your ranch, making the horses run, mind you, it's at least 8, 10, 15 horses running at you. So it can get expensive. Spending all that money, coming back to New York and saying, I don't have anything different to show to your clients is not worth it. And especially when your clients are waiting for you to come up with something different so they can purchase it. So you have a clientele that's waiting to buy it, but you can produce it. That's like the worst feeling. Or you cannot produce anything different. That's like the worst experience, feelings, at least for me. I hate it. I'm in France and I have not come up with any kind of solution to being different than what I already have. I have shot so many images of slow shutter speeds. Everybody loves it. Great. Now they're waiting for EJAS to do something different, and I don't know what to do. Thousands and thousands and thousands of shots later, I was getting the same results. I mean, of course, I could see in my camera that I was getting exactly the same results. How do I make my shutter speed different so it becomes creative? And guess what I stumbled upon? I was afraid. Remember, I told you I was afraid to go below 30th of a second. And that is what my problem was, because at that point I said to myself, you know what? I don't care. And when you lose that fear of taking a chance to try something different, that is when you find something different which works amazingly well. So this is what I got. And I got this at 1/10 of a second. 1/10 of a second. Imagine that. And here's the bigger one. The bigger one is that I was only hand holding it. There was no tripod in this. This was handheld, 1/10 of a second. I mean, of course, it took thousands and thousands of photographs to get this one photograph. But 1/10 of a second did the job. And the beauty about this is I came back and I showed it to the same client who had purchased my first image with slow shutter speed. And she purchased this one as well. Bottom line, you can use shutter speeds for creativity. You can increase your shutter speed, freeze everything, take it up to 5,000 of a second, or you can reduce it down all the way to 1/10 of a second, or even go lower if you can do it, and see your results. Don't be like me. Don't be afraid to take chances. At the end of the day, all it is that you look at the image, it's digital, delete it, move forward. Slow shutter speeds, guys, it can take you to a totally different level. Experiment with it. Don't be scared of it. If you guys have any questions, you can ask me. I'm sure that the question that I'm going to be asked is, hey EJAS, what happens if it's blowing out because your f-stop is also too low, right? So the answer to that is ND filters. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys experiment and don't be afraid of failing. Failing is good. You learn from it. I learned from it. And I hope to see you guys soon. Speak to you later. Thanks. Bye.